Fani Willis's trial is ongoing, but we just finished day 2. Today is a very depressing day for democracy in general, and this trial also shows us why. Today, Alexei Navalny died in custody in Russia, and he is the leading opposition figure in Russia. His death is really squarely on Putin's regime, which is a murderous regime which murders all his political opponents. And in the trial today of Fani Willis, her father testified that she had to leave her home, the home that she purchased, because there are so many death threats against her. People attack the house and they put graffiti on the house using the N word and the B word. America is becoming a very politically violent place. There is a lot of political violence being fomented by the criminal ex-president Donald Trump, who the criminal justice system is failing to hold accountable. It's actually a very serious situation. This trial of Fani Willis today, I talked about the morning already when her father testified, and his testimony was very favorable to her, but at the end it came out that he had watched coverage from yesterday, so the judge might assume that her father was trying to match her testimony. So I'm not sure in the end if the judge will take that as being credible. You can watch the morning video, it's there. Then this afternoon was extremely painful. This was a very, very tedious 2 hours or 3 hours. This witness named Mr. Bradley was testifying. He literally looked like he was in physical pain, and it came out eventually why he was looking like that, but he looked in excruciating pain. It was horrible to watch him. He didn't want to answer any questions. He was trying to buy time. It was very clear that the defense, meaning the Trump defendants' lawyers, were trying to get him to say that Nathan Wade, the special prosecutor, had perjured himself yesterday when he said that his relationship with Fani Willis only began in 2022. So they kept pressing this point, and they're really trying to, these are all lawyers. So imagine if you can claim that somebody perjured themselves, they will lose their license to practice. So it's very high stakes for everybody involved. Also, Mr. Bradley used to be a law firm partner with Mr. Wade, Nathan Wade. His name is Terrence Bradley. So Terrence Bradley and Mr. Wade and another guy named Mr. Campbell had a firm together. Now, they were friends, apparently. And Mr. Bradley was representing Nathan Wade in his contentious divorce, which is where a lot of this information has come from. Unfortunately, that means that there are attorney-client privilege issues, unfortunately for the defense, but it was still also unfortunate for the people trying to make the case for Fani Willis, because basically, even though a lot of communication between Mr. Bradley and Mr. Wade is supposed to be covered by privilege, the Trump lawyers could still insinuate that he was not able to say what he wanted to say. So it was looking quite bad for Fani Willis, because this guy, he was just extremely cagey. He was extremely cagey. It was very upsetting. Then what happened is that when Ashley Green-Cross, the lawyer for Fani Willis, basically for the DA's office, started her cross-examination, it came out that Mr. Bradley is no longer sharing a firm with Mr. Wade, and they're no longer friends also, although that was still in contention. But basically they had a falling out, and they had a disagreement that Mr. Bradley said was a disagreement that should be covered by his privilege clause, that he was the attorney for it was so confusing. There was a lot of privilege stuff. Anyways, no, Mr. Bradley left the firm because he was accused of sexual assault by an employee of the firm. This is extremely shady. I mean, it was just extremely shady. And apparently he paid that employee $20,000, which he's very cagey character, I have to say this, Mr. Bradley. And then he's also been accused by another former client of his of sexual assault. And so what happened is that Anna Green-Cross, the lawyer for Fani Willis, tried to prove that Mr. Bradley is biased against Mr. Wade, so we cannot believe any of his testimony, although he barely testified to anything because of privilege anyway. She tried to undermine his credibility, and she brought another witness named Austin Dabney, who's a former employee, who was going to testify that he had seen Mr. Bradley sexually assaulting the other employee. That's obviously very damning. And then she even brought the former client, who was also going to testify that Mr. Bradley sexually assaulted her, but the judge refused to allow that, saying that it's going down a rabbit hole and it's extrinsic or collateral or something, blah, blah, blah. I can just say that the legal system is very clunky, and it's very hard to get information, and it's hard to see when justice will come. So as things stand now, it's a hot mess, because the trial was supposed to be 2 days. Every time this is further delayed, that benefits Donald Trump. That benefits Donald Trump, and we do not want things to benefit Donald Trump. So basically, now the judge said that he's going to look at some evidence in camera, meaning, privately, about the privilege issues of Mr. Bradley. So it might be evidence that counts against Fani Willis and Nathan Wade. We don't know. He could determine that if he looks at that. And then he's going to have at least another day of either more witnesses or cross-examination or redirects or whatever they call it, and also for summations, which there are a million lawyers there for Donald Trump, so that could take another whole day. And then we have no idea when he's going to rule. So all this delay is just further putting off Trump being brought to trial. Now, today, Trump did get hit with a $355 million fine for him, $4 million for the eldest son, $4 million for this other son who everybody makes fun of, what's his name, Eric, okay, and $1 million for Weisselberg. So that $364 million the Trump organization has to pay to New York City for the Letitia James case, which is very good. But again, that's not a criminal case. That's a civil case. So the criminal justice system should be able to hold someone who tried to steal an election accountable. And this is what I don't understand. If the criminal justice system is so slow and the wheels of justice are barely turning, then things are not working properly. This is my opinion after watching this whole event. So I have to say that I had begun this series of videos by saying that Fani Willis should step aside. She should step aside, and I can see by her personality and her fantastic testimony yesterday, she takes umbrage at what has happened to her. She feels that she has been improperly accused. I understand that. She's very righteously self-indignant, but there's something bigger at stake. If Donald Trump is never brought to trial, if she is disqualified from this case, or Nathan Wade is disqualified from the case, the optics already are terrible, okay? But if they are actually disqualified, this case may never be brought. This was the strongest case against Donald Trump, because even if, say, for example, another Republican gets elected and decides they want to pardon Donald Trump of a federal crime and doesn't go to jail, which Donald Trump should be in jail because he tried to steal an election. What he did was treason. He really literally tried to stop the peaceful transfer of power. So the difference with Fani Willis's case is that it's a state case. He would be actually have a chance of going to prison, why should he be there? Other people who invaded the Capitol are in prison, but why is he not? I don't understand what's wrong with America. So it's a state case, so nobody can pardon him. No president can pardon him. He cannot pardon himself from that. Presidents can only pardon federal crimes. So I think that this is why it really behooves Fani Willis to think thrice. This case, I'm not really sure which way it's going, and I'm not a lawyer, and lawyers are disagreeing on which way it's going. But I can say this: Donald Trump should be brought to trial expeditiously, and he should be tried by a jury of his peers. And if he's found guilty, he should go to prison. That is what a real American patriot would want, that he has a fair trial. But unfortunately, right now, there's a lot of egos involved. And I am very worried about the future of democracy all over the world. Russia's not a democracy, but the US pretends to be. So rule of law is central to democracy. And right now, the rule of law is failing everybody. It was a very, very hard day. And now we're only going to meet again in this court case next week sometime. And then who knows what's going to happen. So if anybody knows Fani Willis, please talk to her. She could give this to a deputy and take a leave of absence, and this trial could continue as it should in an expeditious fashion. I'm Talking Lawyer. Thanks for watching. Please like or subscribe, whatever. Bye.